Hello, Berean Church family. My name is Kenny Alderson, and I am here today to talk to you guys about hope. When Nate asked me to if I'd be willing to share a devotional, I was nervous. In front of a camera, talking to the church body about a devotional, it made me pretty nervous. I had the privilege of helping teach the 7th and 8th grade youth group, and we covered hope, and mainly Hebrews chapter 11. So I'm excited to share the notes that I have on this with you guys, and I hope that my hope is that by the end of this, we'll take a real close look at all of ourselves, and we'll know where our faith is and where our faith is in, and whether we're religious or redeemed. So we'll get started. I'm sure that some of you are probably wondering, so the devotional is about hope, and I said we're going to read Hebrews 11, and Hebrews 11 is about faith, and it gives many examples of people in the Bible that demonstrated great faith in Jesus Christ and unwavering faith in Him. And so with that being said, without faith, you can't have hope. Hope and faith go together. They go together throughout the Bible. Faith births hope, and so that's a good way for me to think about that. Is that like I said, without faith, you're not going to have hope. You'll be hopeless. So we've all heard about the 4 essential things that we need to survive: food, water, shelter, and air. And I think there's an important 5th thing that we need to add to that list, and that's hope. We have to have hope. I think that's the 5th element. In times like this, that can be challenging with COVID-19 and not being able to be around other believers or our church family. It can be stressful, overwhelming. Those are some words I would use to describe my household at times. We have 3 little kids, and we got both myself and my wife are both working full time, and then when we get home, we're expecting our 8-year-old to go to daycare and be able to fire up the computer, get on her video teaching service, and somehow with the other 7 kids running out of daycare, be able to focus and sit down and do her homework. So almost next to impossible to get that done. So it's been crazy. We haven't been able to travel back to my wife's mom, who usually we were there every other weekend. It's been, we got to go for Mother's Day. We snuck away, but before that, it had been like 3 months since we got to go there. And so uncertainty is a good way to describe what's going on in the world, and definitely some fear. So I thought this was really encouraging to me to be able to read Hebrews chapter 11, but also just watching a couple different sermons. Mark Driscoll's sermon on hope, I thought was very encouraging, and a lot of the notes out of here are going to be highlights that I took away from his sermon that he did. So look, the truth is the world is full of uncertainty, unknown, a lot of disappointment, a lot of pain. The number one sector in the for prescribed medication is antidepressants in the world. People have lost hope. Lots of people don't have hope or are hopeless. And why? Because the object of their faith is not. You can have faith in a lot of different things. I think Mark Driscoll talks about he went cliff diving into some water or something like that, and he had his family, and they were on vacation, and he jumped off a cliff and hit his leg and hurt his leg, and in the water he's flapping around. And actually, I don't think this actually happened. He's using this as an analogy, but he said imagine if I looked up to my kids and I said, I need help. I'm going to drown. I need help. I'm hurt, and I'm down here at the bottom in the water here. And his kids hollered back at him and said, I have a life jacket and a rock. which one would you like? And he says to them, well, I have faith in both of them. That doesn't make too much sense. I mean, the object here is, important. You can have faith in a lot of things, but the object of our faith, to have hope, needs to be in Jesus Christ and solely in Jesus Christ. And so, I don't know. I thought it was very encouraging because I definitely can put myself in check on that sometimes, for sure. I think I can figure things out. I got a plan. I got this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to accomplish this. And do I always stop and ask God for guidance, or do I just put my head down and push through it? And so this was eye-opening for me, for sure. And these times out here, and who knows, people could be going through all sorts of different things in the world. There's tough situations out there. I mean, with people losing their job, I mean, financially, spiritually, emotionally, maritally, looking at our future, our current and looking back at our current situation, it can look doom and gloom and leave us, stressed and depressed, frankly. And how do we strengthen our hope? And the way to strengthen our hope is to have a very deep relationship with Jesus Christ, for him to be the center of our lives and the object of our faith. And so we'll dive into Hebrews chapter 11 and kind of read through. This is a great chapter, and it just has a bunch of examples, which we've heard most of the stories. These examples are from the Bible, or all of them, or maybe some of us hadn't heard any of these stories. But if we think that the COVID-19 situation and the struggles that we're going through, trust me, after we read this chapter, you'll realize that people have been through a lot of very tough situations, and still stayed strong with their faith with Jesus Christ and relied on him to take their hand when the lights were out and guide and direct them. All right, so let's dive into Hebrews 11. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understood that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. By faith, Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as a righteous man, when God spoke well of his offerings, and by faith, he still speaks even though he is dead. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found, because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. By faith Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith he is condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith he made his home in the promised land. Like a stranger in a foreign country, he lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him at the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with the foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith Abraham, even though he was past age and Sarah herself was barren, was enabled to become a father because he considered him faithful who had made the promise. And so from this one man, and he, as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. And they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country that they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had received the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead, and figuratively speaking, he did receive Isaac back from the dead. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons, and worshipped as he learned on the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when his end was near, spoke about the exodus of Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions about his bones. By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of the Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than enjoy the pleasures of sin for a short time. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of a greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. By faith he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who was invisible. By faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, so that the destroyer of the firstborn would not touch the firstborn of Israel. By faith the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell after people had marched around them for 7 days. By faith the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the other prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administrated justice, and gained what was promised. Who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned into strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies. Women received back their dead, raised to life again. Others were tortured and refused to be released so that they might gain a better resurrection. Some faced jeers and flogging, while still others were chained and put in prison. They were stoned, they were sawed in two, they were put into death by sword. They went about in sheepskins, goatskins, destitute, persecuted, mistreated. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in the deserts and in the mountains and in caves and in holes in the ground. These were all commanded for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would we be made perfect. So the word faith in there, a bunch of different examples of a bunch of different people throughout the Bible that just showed extraordinary faith, even in crazy, hard, tough, difficult, awful times. So they hung tight to Jesus Christ, and they continue to show faith in Him and trusted what He said. It's crazy to think, to put yourself in their shoes or their sandals or whatever they had on their feet. Just to put yourself back there and think about, we've all known the ark, but just think about that. Like, I don't know how long. I mean, it's just crazy to think that his faith in Jesus Christ was so strong to be building an ark when everybody around him was like, there's no water, and he's building this huge ark. And there's so many different examples throughout the Bible that you can refer back to and just think about how much faith they would have had to have in the object of their faith in Jesus Christ to do what He was asking them to do or leading them to do when He took their hand and guided them. And that's what I'm asking today. I mean, am I willing for the lights to go out and have Jesus take me by the hand and guide me through the darkness? And so just awesome, just powerful to read through that, and then really makes a guy stop and think about my faith and how strong is my faith. Would I be willing to do even something. I mean, those are crazy, crazy things that they did, but just real gut checking. So, I heard a quote recently that said, and it really stuck with me. I don't remember. It might have been when I was watching the sermon. It was one of those ads that came on before the sermon on hope that Mark Driscoll did, and I think it was a trailer for a movie coming up or something like that. But it said, "I would rather stand with God and be judged by the world than stand with the world and be judged by God." And that's so true. I mean, you just think about that, and that's easier said than done. For sure. I mean, we've all been in situations where maybe we had an opportunity to share the message of God, but maybe we're a little uneasy about doing it in this public place or whatever it might be. I'm guilty of that. So I don't. But that quote there really sticks with me too, and I'm hoping to continue to replay that through my head. I'd rather stand with God and be judged by the world than stand with the world and be judged by God. So, kind of my question for everybody, for all of us, is, life can be full of despair if your faith is in the wrong thing. It can lead you down. It can sink you. It can leave you down, leave you hopeless and no hope, disappointed. If your hope is in anything but Jesus Christ, or leave you overwhelmed and in complete despair. So today I'm asking you to put your faith in the one who loves you, the one who prepared a place for you, died for you, rose for you, sustains you. Have him be the center of your faith and the object of your faith. Here's the question that really put it in perspective for me. Am I religious or redeemed? Think about that. Are you religious? Do you go through the motions? Do you go to church because that's what we're supposed to do on Sundays? Do you turn it on now, not come to church, but turn it on the computer and watch it with your family because that's what we're supposed to do? Do we? Are we doing? If we're doing anything, any acts that just going through the motions, if the object behind your act is not for Jesus Christ, maybe we need to take a hard look at ourselves. Maybe we're religious, but are we redeemed? Do we have that intimate relationship with Jesus Christ? Do we lean on Jesus Christ? Is he the center of our faith? Is he the object of our faith? Do we love him? Does he know us? That is the question, and it's eye-opening to me too. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to improve on that in my life. I'm not sitting here telling you today that, I do that all the time. I'm human. I make mistakes, and I definitely screw up, and all of us do. So, in closing, one of the other quotes that I heard is, the Bible's not a bunch of stories about a bunch of people. It's one story about one person, and that's Jesus Christ. And the challenge in front of all of us is to strengthen our faith and in turn have more hope, so that Jesus can use us as tools to help bring the lost and hopeless people to faith in Jesus Christ. And that's why we're here. And that's my hope for all of us, that we can all strengthen our faith in Jesus Christ, and he'll be the center and the object of our faith, so that we can be fully utilized by Jesus as tools to go help bring hopeless people and people who are lost or have never heard of Jesus Christ, or that's why we're here, is to bring people. Jesus is going to use us as tools to bring people to his kingdom. So that's all I have. Thank you.